Welcome back to get more of the same Jake Munro show, high quality content that you've come to expect. The alt-right pipeline.
So just to give you some context, I found this guy a couple of months ago in obviously the right-wing space, I suppose, as it were, online. And I really like this guy's approach to it. He obviously talks about, you know, all the stuff that is happening in Britain and the UK. He is from the UK. I really like him. I like his approach. He sort of focuses on a lot of the Gothic elements and how the Gothic subculture has been overrun, as it were, by leftists and liberals. And weirdly, they deem themselves as a counterculture, the Goths, but they are, if anything, they are exactly the culture. The prevailing narrative is Goth, or should I rather say the prevailing narrative is this: if Goth was continually the counterculture, and Goth has now become aligned with the majority, can they really be considered counterculture? And so his thing is attempting to reclaim Goth. And I think he's got an interesting approach of how he does this. But let us carry on.
What is this? You may have actually heard this before. The alt-right pipeline. You see a content creator, right? You see someone put out a video and they're probably talking about something that's like red-pilled, or, you know, something that's more conservative, something that's contrary to the leftist rhetoric that seems to be going around at the moment. And in comes Septum-ring McFat with the alt-right pipeline grifter strikes again in regards to
exactly
people finding their way to conservative.
And I think that's exactly the thing. You know, the leftists have, if anything, caused the chaos that they've attempted to avoid by continually telling men in particular that they are toxic, men that they are to blame for all society's woes, yet they never consider their actions, and they are incapable of reason and logic and debate because they are so fueled by anger and guilt and resentment towards men. And that is unfortunately very prevalent in Western society.
Or red-pilled values. This piqued my interest. Why is this so consistent? Why does the alt-right pipeline keep being brought up as a way to devalue or discredit what is being said by these content creators who are primarily focused on things like telling the truth? So I looked a little bit deeper into it. And what I found was actually quite interesting. Because not only did I find out what the alt-right...
And that's also the thing, you know, regarding the truth. The leftists are so vehemently opposed to objective truth that everything has become my truth, our truth. There is no idea of a an objective right or wrong. There is no concept of if a thing can be objectively true or not. This is why it goes back to, unfortunately, people on the political left, or shall I rather say socialists, Marxists, those folks, because they do not believe in objective truth. They would rather, or shall I say, they are incapable of distinguishing if they are telling a lie because they do not agree with objective truth.
Pipeline actually is. But I found out who made it. Yeah. Before we get into it, make sure you go and check out the brand new merch that has just dropped. We have the new Make Goth Great Again hats shown here. It's Make Goth Great Again 2.0. Comes pre-aged with all the fraying and stuff like that. The dark red embroidery. If you have a look on the back here, MGGA, also
that's pretty cool.
high quality embroidery on the back. Very high quality merch. Go and check that out. Link is down below. We've got the beanies too. We've got these really cool pins as well if you want to put those on your backpack. Now, the alt-right pipeline is officially defined as a series of algorithmic curations that sort of lead a specific demographic towards more conservative or red-pilled or right-wing ideologies and sensibilities and stuff
and
like
they
that.
are pushing men to
things
it.
like Joji, whenever he was the pink guy, or the original iDubbbz stuff, or Leafy, or in more modern times, people like Andrew Tate and Sneeko. And
Well, yeah, we're going to get into those guys.
These other very prolific red-pilled, right-wing kind of guys that are guiding a specific demographic towards more conservative values, to be more aware of things in their environment, which is what red pill actually is. You know, it's to be aware, to wake up, to notice things around you in your environment, in society. It's
There's that objective truth again.
Young men to a quote-unquote extremist right-wing ideological stance.
Well, that what they would deem as extremist.
But we'll get to why. We'll get to why it's specifically young men that are susceptible to things like the alt-right pipeline. We'll get into that. Okay, we'll get there. Lonely, isolated, depressed young men.
Yeah, because masculinity is deemed as toxic in society.
The exclusive demographic to be affected by the alt-right pipeline.
My grandma had a really unusual name,
Oh,
Jacinta,
good.
and
Ads.
I was really curious about where it came from, so I decided.
However, there is another side to this. There's another kind of man that was obviously influenced or has gone through the alt-right pipeline themselves, and that is male content creators who have had negative experiences with the left.
Sure, I've heard of many.
You see, men are not treated very well on that side of the fence.
No.
And for the most part, men who are on that side of the fence, you know, those whose support structures, networks, friendships, relationships, literally everything that their life is built upon relies on them maintaining the peace with this matriarchal left-wing narcissism that they find themselves surrounded by. And they behave so well, man. Oh my God, do they
And
try
if you
play
don't push
along
the
as much as
narrative,
possible?
you
Do
are
they try and keep
cancelled.
the peace?
You are
Do they try
deemed
and
as
make sure
part of
everyone's
the
happy,
problem
but you're
or the
still
enemy.
a white man, okay? You're only going to be able to do so much. At the end of the day, you are still going to have to take some shit on the chin.
That's right.
They're still going to shit on you. I've had that before. You try and maintain the peace, but they're always going to be trying to take little pieces of you, trying to make a point. You're just a punching bag to these women. But
they
at
are
one point
uninterested
you
in
wake
your
up and you
opinion.
say, I've had enough of this shit. Get the f out of my house. I want my own damn life. I'm sick of hearing this shit. I'm sick of being treated like shit.
Yeah.
Despite everything I do for all of you. And then this is where you are then introduced to the alt-right. Now, I am alt-right.
No.
That much is obvious. You've seen my bio. Try and define it. I bet you can't find a singular definition. Yes, you know, there's a bunch of unsavory types in there, but there's also people in there who are right-wing or conservative or just more right-wing or on the right.
And that's also the thing with the quote-unquote what they deem as alt-right, the extremists. We tend to... This video is a prime example. I'm not a goth. I have never been a goth. I've got no necessarily interest in being a goth. But I can appreciate the words that come out of his mouth. There is that idea of, I agree with his values. I agree with his outlook. I agree with his worldview. Because it makes common sense. And we both agree in worldview because both of us agree on a prior worldview, a conservative idea of the West that is Christian. Not many people would admit that, but it is Christian. And how that has been eroded because of agendas. And so there's an agreement between us. You don't necessarily see that much in the socialist, Marxist camps. It is whatever the new trend is of the day, whatever the marching orders are of the day. If you do not align with those, then you are excommunicated from the cult and you are deemed an enemy until you agree that 2 + 2 = 5.
But don't necessarily tick all the boxes of conventional right, have their own definition of what it means to be on the right. That's about where I am on that. Male content creators who have been canceled primarily for just standing their ground about something that they believe in, chewed out, eaten alive by their leftist audience, forced over the fence into the neighbor's yard.
Yeah.
And there they begin to realize that they've been screwed over their entire lives.
And this is some men. Unfortunately, you'll find other men that will... The liberal socialist agenda is unfortunately a hill that they will die on. They have been so demasculated, so effeminized, so beat down that they've become really puppets for these feminists. And some of them are well-known people, and they are incapable of seeing things rationally because they've parroted the talking points for so long that they're incapable of looking at, once again, objective truth.
And they start to bolster their confidence. They start to learn their self-worth. In fact, they start to help other men discover their own self-worth. And this is dangerous. This is really bad. This is dangerous. They don't want this. This is exactly what they don't want. So these are the two kinds of people that you find heading over into the alt-right pipeline. Lonely young men who finally found a voice that speaks for them on the internet, telling them they have value, that the way they've been treated by women is not fair. And then you've also got the content creators themselves. Their entire lives, their entire audience are comprised of leftist women or just leftists in general, and they make content that's nonpartisan. They're forced to make a decision on a world event. They decide not to do that, or they have a contentious point that they want to make. The left are unable to disagree, and they are then thrown over the fence.
There's your excommunication.
This right here, this one. You see this one here?
Yeah.
This kind of thing. And this right here should show you exactly who made the alt-right pipeline.
Yeah, the alt-right is...
Leftists did.
The repercussions.
See, if leftism wasn't this prickly, nasty, toxic environment of authoritarianism under a matriarchal dictatorship, then there would be no need. There would be no construction of something like an alt-right pipeline. There would not be this necessity for an escape from it with so much to say against it, right? But the fact is that it is a nasty, toxic, prickly, reprehensible construct with these narcissists in positions of power that start to dictate, especially to men, how they should operate, what they should say, and why they should agree.
And to that point, it is unfortunate that that is how it is, but that's exactly how it is. It's you are, because of toxic masculinity, unless you act like a female, you are exactly part of the problem. You are the reason why, in their understanding, that society is in the mess it is in, because you're a man that thinks like one. You're a man that acts like one. And because of that, they can't have that. And that is why you've got two choices. You can either submit to them and become a soy boy, a femboy, all these effeminate masculine traits that they attempt to push on us, or you get excommunicated and you enter the what they would call the red pill manosphere spaces, where you can find people that agree with your stance because they are men that think like men and act like men, and so on.
And usually the why is because I told you so, and you're a man. And as a man, you are intrinsically bad, innately bad. There is no repentance from this. You are merely here to be used when needed. Lonely young men affected by this.
That's why I think it's a religion.
Epidemic. They are susceptible to this alt-right pipeline. Because out of all of the groups that currently exist within civilized Western society, they are the most disenfranchised. They are the most shat on. It is mainstream. It is the only group that's not protected. White men, they're the only group that aren't protected. You can do daytime mainstream television shitting on men as much as you want. White men specifically. Exclusively white men only.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. Your cartoons, your TV shows, your movies, your video games. It's in all the media.
That's why people will go ahead and say, yes, of course, toxic masculinity. Yes, it's a real thing, but it only applies to white men because, of course, they are the colonizers. They are the patriarchy. Toxic masculinity, but it's only with, once again, white men. If anybody were to say that toxic masculinity while referring to a black man, a Somalian, an Arab, any of the other ethnicities, that is almost considered and immediately considered as racist. But when it's done with a white man, there is no concept of it being racist because they are the racists.
It's on social media. It's on, Tumblr, it was on there. It's on Blue Sky. It's everywhere. It's the most normalized group that everybody gets to shit on day in, day out, and the only group who's expected to take it because they are being taught that they are intrinsically evil.
Yeah.
And there's nothing they can do about it. What did you expect was going to happen? With a group like this that is so mercilessly attacked as a mainstream thing, it's a mainstream concept to attack white men. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? Oh, the alt-right pipeline strikes again. You built it.
Yep.
The left built it. They made it as a necessity to escape them. It needed to be made. If they were as all-inclusive, as tolerant, and as understanding
once again, there
as they
you
like
see
to
the double
say
standards
they
of the
are,
left.
then the
Inclusive
alt-right
except
pipeline
for
would not exist,
the patriarchy,
and yet it does,
the white man.
abundantly. They built the entire pipeline with extensions and extra pipelines and more lanes added so that more men can leave. They're making their own enemies.
Yep.
Their own opposition, because they're so
And
reprehensible.
unfortunately,
And
some
the
of
only
those
reason why the
enemies are
left
not
hate
as
it so much,
tolerant
the only reason why they're trying
as white
to
men.
devalue and dismiss anyone who decides to find themselves going through this pipeline, the reason why is because men with a sense of self-worth are the ultimate threat to their entire regime.
Yep.
The only thing standing between any of these leftists and total domination of Western civilization are white men.
Exactly. And they simply
It's
just
the
cannot
only
see it.
thing.
Yeah.
You have to think, why were white men so mercilessly and exclusively attacked? Why just them? What was that about? Why did they do this? It's because we're the only threat.
And it's because they
their
were the first
superiority,
victims.
to their success, to their
They were the
victory.
first
We're
ones
the only
that
thing
got
that could potentially stand in the way.
offended, overlooked,
confident,
according to their
strong
understanding,
man,
according
a
to their
masculine, strong
paradigm.
man, an assertive man, telling women to shut the fuck up, a metaphorical bitch slap, sit the f down. That was the only thing to get in the way. They don't really think that men are the worst. I mean, they probably do now. They start to believe their own bullshit, smell their own farts. They wanted us to believe this because with us out of the way, they were then allowed to do whatever the hell they wanted.
Yeah.
And they did.
And look what's happened now. Look what's happened to society because of it. Yeah, unfortunately we did.
This is why there is this alt-right pipeline, because they made it, and this is why they're trying so hard to devalue it and dismiss it and shame it.
Yep.
Because ultimately that means more men are discovering their self-worth. The more men do this, the more they tell leftists, especially leftist women, to shut the fuck up, get in the way of their domination.
And then unfortunately that causes them to be more offended, more triggered.
Whenever they control and own everything. I mean, this Spanish girl actually managed to explain it pretty well.
Supuesto, ojalá, teoría del reemplazo, ojalá podamos barrer de fachas y de racistas este país con gente migrante, con gente trabajadora. Claro que yo quiero que haya reemplazo.
There it is, fellas. There's critical mass. There's the end of the road. We were shamed so hard to sit down, shut up, and think about what we've done.
Yeah.
While they went ahead and spiraled out of control, and then not in their moment of not knowing what the hell to do with themselves, literally just threw everything away.
Yeah, and unfortunately now society is at such a state that they can get away with it.
Pipeline real quick.
And we can't. We have to do self-censoring. We have to
I've talked about it for the last
police ourselves for the sake of not offending
What's that for?
the leftists,
I'll tell you what it's
the
for.
bastions of morality as they phrase themselves.
Yeah, for children, actually. It's for those who want to groom children, as well as, narcissists. They're also pretty attracted to the alt-left pipeline. But groomers also really love this alt-left pipeline. You want to talk about something nefarious? You want to talk about something that is despicable beyond all understanding? The alt-left pipeline attracts groomers of minors.
Yeah, unfortunately you can see that in the kindergarten schools. I saw a couple of videos of it. How they're grooming the kids to
pride parading
very liberal ideas.
in public, in front of children. That's not a right-wing thing to do. That's not an alt-right thing to do. That's exclusively left. Not almost. That's exclusively leftist. That's their thing. The sort of leather dog masks, the G-string, the cycling butt naked. We've seen this before. We've got examples of this. Cross-dressing drag queens reading and performing to children.
Yeah.
Who was the only people who had problems with this? That's right. The right. And if you actually spoke up against this stuff,
yeah, don't you dare.
Maybe we shouldn't be having drag queens performing
yeah,
and
you're seen as a bigot,
children,
you're seen as the enemy.
Left would see you
yeah.
as a Nazi or a right-winger or an alt-right, because it was a very leftist thing to want this to happen.
Tag your friends.
There's more examples. Children also performing in drag. Schools being infested
and that's
with
what they do.
teachers. Leftist
That's exactly
activists using their influence and power to groom and violate children. Blue Sky immediately being overrun.
And then you can
with
understand why
underage
so many
sexual
kids
content.
these days, so many youngsters have mental issues.
Minor-attracted people. In which camp do you think the term minor attracted people? Which camp do you think that came from? Was it the alt-right camp?
Nope.
Was it? Was it right-wingers? Was it conservatives? Where do you think MAPS came from? And where did they try to find safety? Where did MAPS try to establish an identity within? It was the left. The alt-right pipeline, man discovering his fire, his sense of worth, his masculinity. The alt-left pipeline, groomers. Because everyone knows that the leftists went after kids. You should be thankful that you're in the alt-right
And it's also
pipeline,
because they
okay?
don't have kids
If you've got a
of their
leftist coming
own,
up to you
so
and
now
being
they
like,
have to
"Alt-right pipeline
groom
detected,"
yours.
just be like, thank you for making it, actually. Thanks for making it. And hey, at least I'm leaving the side that has maps on it. The leftist pipeline enabled disgusting individuals the ability to get close to children while exercising their fetishes. Male feminists almost always have something to hide or something they're trying to atone for. So what have we learned here today?
That's true.
Who made the alt-right pipeline? Leftists did. They made it.
Okay, well, he's
It was a
basically just going to sum up
necessity. Of course it was going to be
what
made.
he's talking about, so let's end there. And yeah, unfortunately, they are the creators of the thing that they despise so much, and they simply just cannot look through an objective lens to realize that they are in fact in error, because in their brain we are deemed as the enemy, and it is ridiculous.